Hello and welcome to the Two Ball Brothers on a Microphone podcast. This is your host, Danny Ryan, here with my co-host,
Hey!
Tommy Ryan. Hey, Tommy Ryan.
It's good.
What you drinking this morning?
Drinking a flat white with coconut milk. It's good. Very
Caffeine
good.
warning.
Yes.
Caffeine warning. Well, I'm just having my normal, Death Wish coffee here.
That's pretty nice.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's pretty bold.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is this has turned into a 3-part series on the Yoast training that I've done, and I appreciate you sort of giving me the opportunity to vocalize some of the things that I've learned going through the training. And like anything, I ended up again taking the courseware. They've got a number of courses that you can take specifically on SEO, and I've gone through all of them except for the the language one, so foreign language one, so for marking up for different languages, which I'm not sure if if I'm going to take that one. I might, and then they have a technical one which I started, and the first part of it's a lot of like repeat stuff and other stuff I just know from building web stuff,
right?
What HTTP is, like all the basics of a website and those types of things.
Right.
I'll go through that one and finish that one off, but I don't know if I'll how many sort of takeaways I'll have from that. Maybe I will. So I wanted to, last time we got together, we were talking about search intent and the different categories of search intent and how we can create content based upon what they're trying to do. What is that, are they just trying to find what our website is? Are they looking for information on something? Are they comparing different options that are out there, or are they showing up to buy something? And so we're really thinking about that and thinking about what's our content and making it easy for people to find content. And what I did this week, and today, just to let you guys know, today daily we have a stand-up, a marketing and sales stand-up, where we get together. We talk about, it's a Scrum thing where you talk about what you did the last 24 hours, what you're going to do in the next 24 hours, and any impediments or things that are getting in your way. And yesterday I did a little, what I'll classify as a proof of concept around reorganizing all of our content.
Okay.
And what I wanted to do was to take some of the things that I learned in the class and try to apply them to our site. And so there were a lot of things going through this process that I learned, and there are some things that are takeaways for me from going through this process. So I wanted to talk that through with you and share some of this is a bit on the technical side, but it's fine. Just sort of how did I do it and what was I trying to do? Let me describe where we are today. Today we've got between 700 to 800 blog posts on our website.
Nice.
And that's great. So the content, we've been doing this over the last 10 or so years. There are certain types of there's certain topics that we cover pretty heavily. And what I did was I looked at what are we using for tags, and one of the things that they have in the course is not just going out and creating content. It's also going back and looking at content and a little bit of pruning of content and curating. Saying maybe this one. One of the big things that I think I got out of this was I'm now allowing people to, if for their one update for the quarter, the one marketing thing is they can go back and update a previous blog post. I was having people always create new content, but maybe there's pieces of content that are out there that they just need to do an update.
Right.
And so, especially in the world of Office 365, the way you did it previously might not be the way you did it a year ago might not be the way you do it now.
Right.
And especially for the pieces of content that are really popular ones. So that's what I ended up doing was I did a little bit of an analysis on what was everybody's most popular blog post, and then take a look at it and see if that could use an update. And shared that with the at our company meeting and saying, this quarter, why don't we focus in on updating some of the content? So that was something that's important that came out of this. So yesterday's proof of concept, sort of getting back to that, was we have over 360 tags right now. And
Okay.
so what that means is, for about, between 700 to 800 pieces of content and over 300, I think it was 364 tags, is we're using tags extensively, but we're creating too many tags,
Right.
essentially. And so part of what the goal was yesterday was to take a look at, and can we take some of those tags and instead of having them so fine grain, maybe group them together, maybe look at them and merge some of them together. Maybe look at it where I'm not using so many tags. Take a look at the tags that maybe I only have 1 or 2 or 3 posts that are marked with them, and start to pull things together. And so that was what it was part of the exercise yesterday. And I sort of challenged myself. With this, you can go from like one extreme to the other.
Right.
And yesterday, my extreme was like, what happens if I really if I took all 360 of those and compacted them down to 12.
Right.
And said, you know what? There's 12 different topics.
Yeah.
These are the 12 things that we write about. And so that was my challenge for yesterday. And so that was what I was going after. So like, for instance, I'll take an example of some easy ones. Like, we have a lot of blog posts that are written about Angular. So the Angular is a technology that we would use particularly for development purposes. We would use Angular. So for that one, I would notice like there were maybe 4 tags that at one point in time I was doing tags on Angular 2. And so for this, it's like, I don't really need to get that
SharePoint
granular.
2013, SharePoint 2016.
Yeah. And so really we're writing that, there was a way for me to go. The easy ones were I was merging together things that were similar enough that there wasn't enough benefit of breaking them out into separate tags.
Right. I mean, from what I heard you say the other day, and I don't know if this is where you want to go, if this is convention for thinking about tags versus categories. Mm-hmm. I heard from you that categories are what you really want to be known for, what you want to show up inside of search. Mm-hmm. So you have enough strength of kind of content and focus around that category. Mm-hmm. And then I look at tags, and maybe this makes sense or maybe it doesn't. I look at tags as that second level down from categories that is more refinement. Mm-hmm. That if I find in this category there are 100 blogs, how do I further refine and get to what I'm looking for within that category? Is that
it is
how you use tags, or
so
sometimes
funny.
You don't use tags at all, you just say don't use tags, just go straight categories.
Yeah. You can go one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the difference between categories and tags from an implementation standpoint is categories can be hierarchical. So you can put them underneath a hierarchy if you want to. Tags are not.
Tags are flat.
So I've listened to plenty of, talking about YouTube, just plenty of different people's take on this. And the benefit of this is not just going to be on our website. I'm going to be able to also apply this to intranets, so how people are, there's overlap with how we, how do you use this?
Taxonomy versus folksonomy. Yeah.
So you can rely on one or the other, or you can not use one or the other as well. So the analogy that worked best when sort of going through them all is think of this as your content like a book, and the table of contents is the categories.
Okay.
And the index, that's your tags.
Right.
So like, for instance, you wanted to, so of all your sort of corpus of information that you have, you want to sort of think of the chapters of the book as being your categories. And you want to think, do I want to go to a very specific, if you're reading a book, you wanted to jump to where this, if it's a technology book, where this certain type of technology is talked about in this book. Well, you can jump to the index and you can see it's talked about on page 4, 8, and 37. So that helped, I think, for me. So, and you can people think different ways, and sometimes people want to jump right to it. Sometimes, like for us, Google is trying to figure out what's your content all about, and so it's trying to understand what are the chapters of your book, and what's the name of your book. What do you know the most about? What is it all about? And so, for us, it's sort of thinking, and part of this exercise is sort of looking at all the content that we have, and then there is this strategy within SEO. And I've talked to other people, talked to you guys about this, where you have the head keywords.
Right.
Like, what are the things, like when you think of three-wheel, that are the ones that really we have the most knowledge about? And so those could be things like the head keyword could be Office 365.
And would that be a category? Is your head keyword get mapped to a category, or can?
It can. And like for us, I could see it be more about, I could see the overall, like our blog could be like, if the corpus of our information is all typically about this one subject, it might be good to call it that. So we might have, like, we could call our blog the Office 365 blog. So because within all of that, we're typically, very often talking about, our information is about Office 365. And there's, but then really, within Office 365, what are we putting content out about? Are we, what I ended up finding that was, like, when I went to those dozen categories, is that we're putting out content about Office 365 best practices.
Right.
So how do you, what's the right way of doing this? And so for us, a head keyword could be, and part of this whole research is seeing, like, what are people out there searching for? Because you got to get into the mind of what keywords do they use so that you can connect yourself up to those keywords. So are we, people often, if I look at the history, people will be searching for Office 365 best practices. And then what happens is if we use that as a category, and then we classify our content as being, this is an article about Office 365 best practices, and we have 100 pieces of content about that. Okay. All of those different, the way that WordPress is set up is all of the different articles that you write about a certain category all point back to what they call an archive page. And so this helps Google, like if you have 100 pages pointing at this one page, Google will say that one page is pretty darn important, but nobody else is, and then, so it's sort of how you create a site hierarchy within your website is, and that's where it becomes cornerstone content. That's where, like, that's where you want to look at that page, and there's like default, out of the box, WordPress creates these archive pages, which is typically just the collection of articles that are written about that category. But one of the things that Yoast goes into is like creating a guide for that, which gets into the cornerstone content, where it's more than just, I've written 100 different articles about Office 365 best practices, but I have like that page has like here's what you need to know about best practices, and has more content. It's actually a very highly optimized page itself. So you can go that route. The thing where I'm a little confused is I know I can go that route and I can customize the category page, but then also within Yoast, you can create an article that is classified as cornerstone content. And then I think you need to manually go in and point all of those pages back to that page to say, hey, this is really the authoritative.
This is where you start.
Subject. Yeah. So this is where it plays into what our issue is today. So that really why I'm getting into this, and really why I'm taking all these courses, and the overarching goal for me is that I'm going to take Jive Migrations as an example. And there are other companies there's one or two other companies that have been able to rank higher than us in this. And I believe it's because we're competing with ourselves. We have probably 40 different pieces of content on our website that is about Jive migrations. And Google can't figure out which one do like
what's the
authoritative one. And right now it switches back and forth, like which one shows up as the highest one based upon what my specific keywords are. But I want to have one that is the authoritative source. So I want to have a guide that sort of is the place that I'm telling Google, when people are searching for this is my content that I want them first to show up to, and then they can go look at other things. So in other words, I want to send them to this chapter of the book so that they can go start here and go get more information about that thing. So right now, like for instance, it may be, depending on the search, it may be the article that we wrote, the first article that Pete wrote about migrating, the one that was done 4 or 5 years ago, because it's been around so long and people go and read that.
And
or it might
revise that one.
And we can revise that one, and if that's our cornerstone content, then that's fine. But that right now, that's just one piece of many pieces of content for us. Right now, the costs one, so we did an article probably a year ago, is starting to show up as the one showing up. So in other words, I'm competing with myself right now. And it's not, what I want to do is get to the point where I'm able to tell Google, hey, this is what I want people to go to when they're searching for Jive migrations. I don't want to send them to one piece, because the issue is like, for instance, like right now, if they show up to the cost page, they'll show up to that page. That's good, number one. But they don't have an index. They don't have like
nowhere to go from there.
Where do I go from there? Like what's really the call to action for them? Because they could go read that article and then they're gone. But I haven't given them sort of an overview, or at the end of that article, I want to point them to, even if they come in to that article by using like a long tail keyword where they search for what are the costs of a Jive migration, they go to that cost page, and then I want to pull them into, they read that page, and then I want to pull them back into our guide that sort of has the overarching.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
So just the structure is really, what your structure is important, and being able to set this up in the proper way. I'm sorry, we're good. Okay. So that's the idea behind, why are we doing this and why are we creating cornerstone content? So what I did yesterday, sort of get back into that, is I ended up, love WordPress because there's like free plugins for everything. But I went through the whole process of simplifying all of the tags down to a dozen. I just basically challenged myself, and I said, the reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to understand what are the dozen topics that I would sort of ball us into. And what do I, so that helped me out with maybe, what are the high level chapters in our book. And I did that. I used, there's a term management tools that I have to do this. There were a couple of plugins. There was a bulk move tool that I used to convert, actually use the term management tools to merge them together. So when you're doing all of this, and right now I have, Yoast is not, Yoast does a no index on our tag archive pages. Which I will, part of this is like, you can tell Google not to index a tag archive page. Okay. Right now, the way it's set up by default is category pages are indexed by Google. Tag pages are not indexed by Google. Because think of this is like 360 extra pages on your website that Google will put out there, which can be good or bad. Like if you want them to show up there, that's good. But I just noticed, and this wasn't anything where I set it up, I noticed by default, Yoast had that turned off.
So it seemed to be a best practice.
Seemed to be a best practice that, because I'm sure by default, everybody's doing what I'm doing, which is they're creating like, for every, there's a new, like for us, it would be like every new 2 pages that we put out on our website, there's a new tag. And so as you look at this over time, the number of pages just will grow and grow and grow. Right. And is that really things you want Google to be indexing? And does it create more confusion than it does clarity to Google about what's your important content on your site?
Okay.
Because they're just new pages on your site. So So I might change this around if I go for it. Our tag pages might be something that I do want Google to index based upon what our tags are going to end up being. So
because there will be fewer. There won't be 360. There might be 12.
There'll be fewer, and they'll be important. And I might even customize those pages to be more like guides, to create them more like their cornerstone content for us, so that when you go to
the tag archive or the category archive page would have some curation of what you want the beginning of it to look like, and then maybe all the referenced pages they can scroll through because you've kind of landed them in the area you want them to kind of explore the content.
And this gets into some cool stuff, because on that page, really what that page is doing is it's giving the archive page is showing you all of the content. And one of the nice things is I can customize what that page looks like. And in actuality, the way it's built by default is it shows you all of those pages one after another on a single page, which is there's not like if you go to like our blog page, it's like Pinterest where you can see a high level overview of each of the pages. And one of the plugins that I use, you can actually switch out the default to be more like a Pinterest page than it is showing all of the pages, just sort of splatting out all the pages one after another, which is good. So that sort of gets into the idea of, I found this article about Jive costs. And then the category is Jive migrations. I click on Jive migrations, which is the tag. It brings me to this page that says, Jive has a high level. It's a optimized page for Jive migrations. It has, and then it also has. If it's the guide, you're always trying to think about what is a conversion, which sort of gets us to the next piece of this, which really is something that just as the same way I've been competing with myself about content, I've been competing with myself about conversions. So the part of the thought around here is, what is a conversion for us on the website? And I'll continue to use Jive migrations because this is one that's fully formed for us. There's a couple things we could classify as a conversion. One is we have a services page, and it's a persuasive article about why you need to do this. And at the end of it, they provide their email and they get what's called the Jive migration pack. And so it has information about, what do they need to know at this point in time about migrating. Then the other thing we have is the sizing tool, right? We've got a sizing tool that's out there. So number one, is that a conversion? So do they download? Do I want to call this in my marketing what I'm trying to get people to do? So that's one thing we do. The other is the ebook. We have an ebook that is people can download, and they provide their email. It's behind a soft paywall, which is they provide their email, their name. They download that ebook. Is that a conversion? We have the sizing tool, which I mentioned earlier. They're downloading that sizing tool. Then, they provide their information. They get the sizing tool, comes to them. Is that the conversion? Then we've talked about workshops. Is them registering for a workshop or doing something where they, sign up for the workshop or reach out to do the work. So the issue with this is I need to be clear about what is a conversion for us on the website. And I'm trying to think of this from a marketing standpoint of how do I get people where they're, where from a marketing to sales, they're in a really good position to move forward. And one of the things I was thinking about out of this is from back in the sales days, you create business cases and action plans and those types of things. And really what I want from a marketing standpoint to move from marketing over to sales is for them to have a business case and for them to have an action plan, right? And so one of this sort of came from the sizing tool and thinking about what we commonly do, because I've got an article on for Jive, how to write a business case for doing this. Is what if the conversion was, they're providing, and I've completely missed another one. We have a pre-migration questionnaire.
Right.
I'll come up with something new next week to sort of say what the conversion, you can see where I'm going with this. There's too many different, I'm not clear about what am I trying to get people.
Yeah.
What am I trying, how do I set them up for success where they can move on, they can, Jeff's interacting with them, they're in a good place, and I need to be clear about that. Because if I'm not clear about it, they're not going to be clear about it.
It seems like what I've noticed is the contact us has been more the handoff, right? Yeah. That we've got all these different avenues based on the type of person that's reaching out to us to be able to interact with us, either downloading the sizing utility or the ebook. Yeah. But where it becomes actionable and it gets converted over from a marketing to a sales is usually through better for worse, that it's the contact us, because we've got a person to talk to, and we feel that there's enough interest because they've done that, that they can have a conversation with someone in sales. And it could be, there could be further quote processing of that and guidance before it goes over to sales. That is the pre-migration, checklist that it's qualified through that, and they're prepared and ready to take the next step. So it's accelerated when they get into that sales pipeline. But it seems like that's what is our conversion today.
That's a great observation, because I think part of this, as well as we've talked about the different types of content, and based upon where you are in that process, you'll want to you'll do different things. So if you're in the research phase, I might download the ebook, right? I need to do this sometime next year. So I'm going to go see what Three Bull says about doing this. You don't need to talk to, I don't want to talk to any, don't reach out to me. I just want to read your book and get ready for it. And so there's different, I do think there's different stages of this as well. Once you're ready to move, and this is a part of, and maybe it is, different people like to interact in different ways as well.
Right. I'll tell you one thing, talking to Jeff about his conversations with new leads that are Jive migrations, he feels like a lot of times they're almost more educated about this Jive migration from our website than Jeff feels, So he feels like he's not working with someone that just haphazardly is contacting us and wants to talk. It's someone that is already, educated themselves. Maybe they've downloaded the ebook. Maybe they've read 5 blog posts, and they've read the FAQ, and that is brought them to the point of saying, I want to contact. Yeah. So I don't know what that is in the whole marketing world, but there are some pre-qualification or preparation steps that enable someone to say, I'm ready to contact you, because I feel like it's not a sales thing. It's I'm ready to take the next step towards this migration. Yeah. And Three Will has already been a partner with me before I even started that sales conversation.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, that warms coddles my heart to hear that. I just know I can do it better, right? That's what we're driven by. I know I can make this, and by better I mean it easier for people to find us and easier for people to learn what they need to learn in order to be successful with doing this specific thing, helping them do this. And so, so there's part of this that might be, one of the things that's coming out of this is, what do I put behind a soft paywall? So a soft paywall for me is like you're going to provide your name and email.
Yeah, that's the currency.
And there's some things where I'm thinking about like taking our ebooks and turning them into cornerstone content. Like, do I really at that phase in the game, I can tell certain things about what companies are coming to our website, those types of things of knowing, what's the benefit of locking it behind there as opposed to sharing it and making it indexable by Google and showing, something, versus, and it's a subtle balance. It's like it's a give and take type of thing. And sometimes what I want to do is I want to make sure that the part of this whole SEO thing is I want to make sure I'm on the front page. I want to make sure that I'm findable. So
Right.
if me locking that content behind a soft paywall is not making me findable, that's not good. And I want to show that I'm authoritative on this, that people, and at different
Right.
stages of the game, you're
Right.
like, I don't want to provide my email quite yet. I want to
Right.
research.
So someone
I-
that downloads that guide or that ebook, they're not the same as someone that goes to the contact us. They're someone that is in that research phase, and so does it make sense to put a soft paywall in front of that when those email addresses that we get are not how we convert people? They're leads, and it's probably a question of, is there more value in having that lead database versus more people finding that page and contacting us directly? And I don't know how you do an A/B test with that to know which one is more effective, but it's an interesting challenge to know which way to go.
Yeah. And right now, as it stands, as a one-man marketing team, when people download resources,
We're all about small, effective teams at 3Will.
What I do is, they do get into our, I don't set up a particular nurture, what a marketing person would say,
Right,
set
like
up
a drip.
nurture or drip campaign, because I know they're 6 months out. I love to do that. Would love to have, I just haven't been able to do. What I do is I just throw them into they're going to get our monthly email, and there's pros and cons of that.
Yeah,
absolutely. They can unsubscribe if they're not interested. They'll keep it. Ideally, I'm doing a drip, but this way they're in there at least so that they can, if they want to stay in touch with us, and they might think, oh, I get a monthly email from 3Will. I read their stuff. I know I want to do something 6 months from now. I'm just going to see what they're up to. What are they doing as a company? Are they getting into different migration types, or what are they doing? Yeah. So some people are fine with that. But it's thinking through, I want to maybe get a little bit back, and we'll wrap this up here. One of the things that's coming out of this that I know I can do, that I'm interested in seeing if there's a way for us to do this, is I feel like with the migrations, we would be in a stronger position if they had a business case. And by a business case, I'm talking about, everybody comes to us and says, what's the cost of doing this, right? Everybody's like, oh, what, how much does it cost? What is this going to cost? And we are not doing ourselves, they've got to go and get a budget, secure a budget for doing these things. We, as part of this process and within marketing, I've got to position this as saying, what are you getting out of doing this? And so is there a way for me to, let's take, for instance, I'll continue on with Jive migrations. Is there a way for me to create a form on the website that says, create your business case here? Ask for 3 things that would have the most impact that they can find out, that they know about their Jive implementation, that they can provide to us that would help us size it to a small, medium, large, extra large. And then out of that, create here are the benefits that you're going to, so they say, and one of those questions might be, what are you currently paying for Jive per month, or some sort of, you need to create the business case. You want help creating the business case?
What's interesting is I think a lot of the people that approach us already have their lightweight business case, which is consolidation. And I've decided I just need to go out there and find someone that can do it, and what's the cheapest way to get there. And because I think a lot of it is, there's not higher purpose beyond consolidating, get rid of the licensing. I mean, from the organizations I've seen and we've been exposed to, it's been a lot of Jive's not innovating anymore. We're paying double for collaboration. It's a no-brainer. Let's get off. And then where it becomes difficult is some of the customers that have old Jive licensing, where it's not costing them $500K a year. It's costing them more like $100 to $200K, but they're a big organization. Then it becomes okay. You have to have a higher purpose because it's not cost anymore. There's something more than costs that's going to have to drive this.
And the benefit of doing that, is losing the knowledge that they currently have in Jive, and losing that corporate IP is you have hard costs and soft costs, and the soft costs, but how do you? A part of this is the challenge around how do you put a dollar behind that?
Yeah. Look at all the content we have in old SharePoint wikis, and what value do we put to that? I mean, it's kind of tough. It's a tough equation.
Which gets us to why moving to Modern Pages, which will be a new service that I'm sure will be coming down the pipe. So and a part of this is just is maybe what can I do from a marketing standpoint to put Jeff in a really good position. And the idea of a business case would be, just make sure they have, and it's just in a simple document format or an email that has, here's the benefits of doing this. Here's some high level costs. And this is what I would call it as a draft of a business case, but just something here's a cost benefit, and then a high level timeline. So a draft of a timeline. Is this gonna take 2 months, 6 months, 2 years? Well, a extra large might take a whole year, or 1 to 2 years to do it. So set some of those expectations, and then what's the action, like a high level action plan? What this is from here, you need to go download the Jive sizing. Here's a list of things you need to do from here. Go do this. You need to schedule your workshop. You need to go do this. And it's a list of things for people to go do from here. And then that gets sent to them. And then it also gets sent to Jeff, where Jeff is able, he sees somebody's got, here's the plan from here. Well, you now know, like this is a good conversion because they've got a plan from here. They know they've got a draft of, and then Jeff just takes that business case and brings it forward and says, here, let's keep this updated. Let's make sure the action plan's updated. You guys, we just want to make sure when you're talking to others inside your organization, you're spelling out, here's the benefits of doing this, folks. This is what this is why we're doing this. And so I just see it as maybe a better way of converting these things, because some of these will just they'll go, the action plan they may get, and they're like, you mean for a medium, it's going to take 6 months? Well, we need to be off in 2 months. Well, then, typical ones go that you're going to need to think about this. This is, and then we can move from there. And Jeff's in a better position. So,
I love that you're thinking about how do you get the process going and put some structure going into it.
And it's just a draft. It's not. I mean, it's not a here's a contract or here's something you need to sign or anything like that. It's just like, here's based upon, we can do this based upon the fact we've done this before.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so just giving them a framework, giving them a draft of a case and an action plan and something where I think it gives them control. They're in better control of things, and they have a plan from here, which is what people, I think they want to, when they decide, yes, I want to go do this. What do you want to hear first? You want to hear, well, that's great. You want to do this. Let's talk about the steps of doing. Let's talk about this is what's going to happen. We're going to guide you through this. We're going to help you through this whole thing. Right. And I think overall, that's what we want the website to be about. We're guides through these different things, leading you down these different things that you're trying to get.
Good. Land this puppy.
All right. We're all done. I'm sorry that was really long, but that was good, great conversation.
Yeah, great conversation.
Awesome. And we're off. Are we late for our
meeting? Yeah, we're 10 minutes late.
Oh, we're 10 minutes late. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry, Jeff. Sorry, John. Okay. Thanks everybody for listening. Have a wonderful day. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Bye-bye.